All right, Rabbi, so I want to tell you something like this. Imagine, nowadays we're living in generations where you can see on your phone. I think it's called Truecaller. You can always see who it is. It's called Truecaller, right? Well, you can always see who it is, even if you don't have a punch in your phone. You can see who's calling you. Could you imagine? You get a phone call from the guy that you lent a lot of money to. Yeah, you lent a lot of money to him, and he's calling you. Here he is. He's calling you. Yeah. So you see his name. You're like, I owe him money and I was meant to give it back today, but I don't have the money. So what is going to be your reaction? You're going to ignore him, because what am I going to answer? I'm going to start telling him and explaining to him and making excuses. You know what? I just won't answer. He calls again, I don't answer again. What does he do next? Very simple. He calls you from somebody else's phone. And you're like, oh, someone else is calling me, pick up. There he is, right? You have that all the time, right? So you have no choice but to answer. Rabbi, I want to tell you what you said. When you daven to the Rabbeinu Shalom, and you daven individually, and you daven by yourself, so the Rabbeinu Shalom hears you, you're an individual, he hears your tefillahs, and he decides, based on who you are and your merit, whether or you will be zoicha to get the tefillah answered. Sometimes, when you daven amongst Klal Yisrael, when you put yourself in the klal, when you daven with a minyan, when you daven with other people, you're no longer an individual. You're an anonymous person immersed in the klal. Automatically your tefillahs have more of a koyach of being answered. Because you're not the pshat, you're an individual asking for something. You're part of a tzibur, you're part of a klal. When a person davens with a minyan, it's not just he has the koyach hatzibur together with him, which is beautiful, which is incredible, but it's much more than that. The pshat is, he's immersed himself in the tzibur, and therefore the chances of his tefillah being answered is much, much more. And Rabbi Say, I would like to discuss the inyan and the idea of davening with the minyan, because we're in a generation right now where sometimes people feel, the minyan, I'll have to tell you, there's no question about it. Corona caused this. It's one of the very many excuses that people blame on Corona. Oh, it's Corona, it's okay, I've done with the minyan. Right? And what Corona did to us was, at the time, and there were many, many times over Pesach or whatever it was, that people were not davening with minyan, and some people were, but there were many people who were not. And it sort of gave them that, I guess it's not so important to daven with the minyan, right? So at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, subconsciously, it definitely affected everyone. And I want to give a little bit of a chizuk in Tefillah B'Tzibur, what it does and what it means, because I think that is a very, very important chelek. So we learn like this, Rabbi Say. In Parashas Korach, when Korach was rebelling against Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe challenged Korach and his supporters to the ultimate test. So he told all of those people that challenged Aaron's legitimacy that they should bring a korban of the Ketores on the following day. And at this point, Moshe Rabbeinu turns to Rabbeinu Shem and says, Rabbeinu Shem, don't accept the tefillahs of the korbanos and the korbanos of Korach. Now, the words of Moshe Rabbeinu are a little bit inappropriate, because at the end of the day, Korach just challenged one of the basic, basically the entire Torah in one shot, right? So there's no reason why anything would have happened. And the answer is because, and we mentioned this before, the Rabbeinu Shem wanted to show all of Klal Yisrael the koyach of tefillah, which is very, very important. The Maises HaMelech explains that the power of tefillah is something that is be'etzim ingrained in every person, and every person that has a tefillah can have an effect. However, we find that in several places that through tefillah the Rabbeinu Shalom has to answer and has to respond, even if the individual is actually not worthy. Now, when it comes to Tefillah B'Tzibur, the Gemara brings us in Masechta Shabbos Daf Ches that the Chazal tell us that the person's tefillah is actually more accepted when it's done B'Tzibur than if it's not. Now, what is the reason? Why is it that if I daven B'Tzibur, is my tefillah going to be more answered than if I daven in my room by myself, right? So just number one, I said this over before, a Hasidic guy comes over to his Rebbe to get a bracha, and the Rebbe says to him, hey, I've not seen you for ages, where have you been? Where have you been? He said, I'll be honest with the Rebbe, I have much more concentration when I daven by myself. I go to my room, I do a bit of spider-dus, I talk to the Rabbeinu Shalom, it's quiet, nobody disrupts me, nobody's on their phone, nobody's phones ring, no one's talking, no one's discussing, no one's whistling. It's gavaldik. I get to do so much more, tefillah b'kavana. I'd rather daven by myself. And the Rebbe said to him, that's beautiful, come with me. He takes him over to the fireplace. On the fireplace, he's got all the coals heaped up there. Fire is going strong, it's koching away. And he takes the metal rod and he takes one of the coals and he flips it off. And it goes to the side, it rolls to the side. He said, watch. Slowly but surely, the fire goes out. And he says, I want to tell you something. When you daven Tefillah B'Tzibur, you have a fire. You have a fire of the Tzibur together. The moment you separate yourself, you have more kavanah, it's easier, whatever. Doesn't make a difference. Automatically, the fire of Tefillah is not so bright. Now, I will tell you the Mabit. The Mabit gives 3 reasons why Tefillah B'Tzibur is automatically more accepted. And he says one reason is when you have a minyan, you actually say Dvarim Shebekdusha. For example, you can say Baruch, you can say Kaddish, things that you cannot normally say if there is not a minyan in there, and that automatically means that you have the Shechina. So if you've got the Shechina there, then obviously the Rabbeinu Shalom is going to be there answering to your tefillah. That's number 1. Number 2, says the Mabit, another reason is because automatically anything that's done b'tzibur, anything that's done as a klal, as a group, has got more of a koyach, it's more valuable, and therefore, for example, if you've got, he says, something very, very heavy, if one person is carrying it, it's extremely hard. He can maybe manage, but it's hard. Imagine you've got 10 people carrying the same thing, it's much easier. Much easier. Says the Mabit, tefillah, it's difficult, it's hard to really get your concentration, to really make it happen. But when you've got everyone carrying the burden, sharing the burden together, it makes it much more powerful in that way. And the third thing is, a tefillah, he says an incredible thing, but the Meshech Chochmah also discusses this, that a tefillah without concentration is not accepted. So if you're davening by yourself and you're not concentrating, there's no chance. But if you're davening b'tzibur and your concentration isn't what it should be, you've got more chance of being answered because you're a chelik of the tzibur. Now, so I don't know about you, maybe I speak for myself, but it's hard sometimes to have kavanah. It's hard to have concentration through all of the words. Pesukah Zimra has, I never counted it, but I imagine, was that? No, because often when you're davening with tzibur, there's a congregation, there's a tzibur, there's a matzah that's happening. I'm not talking when everyone's talking and you're the only one davening, right? I'm talking when the olam are davening, there's a certain feeling you get that the olam are davening together. Right? And there's a certain koyach that has. And we have to realize how important it is that even if you don't have kavanah, your tefillah could be answered. And again, I speak for myself, it's hard to have kavanah. So if you always have kavanah during davening, then you're an incredible yid. Right? You're basically what we call a malach. So then, okay, beautiful. But if you ever suffer from this problem of not having kavanah in every single tefillah and every single word, then perhaps you should think about davening b'tzibur because it has a tremendous koyach. And Rabbi said, I don't believe there's a person in this room that doesn't need something from Hashem. And anybody can honestly say right now, it's okay, God, I'm good. I don't need anything. Really? Can anybody say that? Quiet. Because everybody needs something. If you don't need it now, you need it soon. Right? We all need things. Let's just be honest. We all need things. You want them to be answered? This is the way to get your tefillahs to be answered. Okay? The Heilige Shloah Kodesh brings down, how can Chazal tell us that a Tefillah B'Tzibur is never rejected? How can this be? What's pshat? Klal Yisrael have been davening 3 times a day for what? For the Beis HaMikdash, for the Geula, for Mashiach. What's going on? 3 times a day. We haven't got a response. Zug the Heilige Shloah Kodesh. He says the Rabbeinu Shalom fulfills every Tefillah in some form, but not in the full manner. And therefore, some people experience their personal geula. And in Hanami, maybe Klal Yisrael didn't yet get the geula shlema, but everyone in their personal level, in their personal situation, does get a certain Yeshua. We see miracles that many people go through on a daily basis. And that doesn't mean the request will be fulfilled. Sometimes the answer is no, as we've spoken about before. Sometimes the answer that the Rebbeinu Shalom gives us is no, but it doesn't mean that the Rebbeinu Shalom is not listening to us and he doesn't care about us. And I want to tell you something very, very important. By the way, there's the time that people have sometimes, if anyone learned Shulchan Aruch, what does the Shulchan Aruch use when he says to daven with the minyan? Hello? Yishtadel. What does Ishtadl mean? What does Ishtadl mean? What does it mean? Good, comes from Ishtadlus. To try. That's the literal translation. Oh, so the Shulchan Aruch says Ishtadl to try. No, so I couldn't try today. What's the big deal? So I want to tell you there's a Moedik Tshuva in Moshe Norachaim Chelei Beis Simon Chav Zayin, the Min Chazizah Chelei Zayin Simon Samach Vav. Same thing. Nowadays it's a chiyuv. It's a chiyuv, and a chanami. The Shulchan Aruch were lashon vishtadel, but it doesn't mean try. It means a chiyuv, and everyone who understands gedolim understands that that is the case. By the way, I want to tell you, I don't think I get annoyed by many things, but there's one thing that does a little bit annoy me, and that is people that think that they daven b'tzibur when they're not actually davening b'tzibur. How do we define davening b'tzibur? So people think it means if I'm in shul. If I'm in shul, then I'm done b'tzibur, right? No, that's not what it means. How you daven b'tzibur? How do you daven b'tzibur? Anybody know? Daven with them. Oh, thank you very much. If you daven Shemayna Esra, the Mishnah Berurah says. So you have people that are late, or they come late, or it takes them a little bit longer, whatever it may be, which is beautiful. I'm not saying not to, but figure it out to daven Shemayna Esra with the tzibur. That is Tefillah B'Tzibur, by the way. Tefillah B'Tzibur doesn't mean being in the shul. It's beautiful to be in the shul, beautiful to answer amen. That's all that's kavaldik. Oh, but if you want the Maila Tefillah B'Tzibur means that your Tefillah will basically be answered. You daven Shemayna Esra with the Tzibur. That's what it is. It's very, very important for a person to do that. Okay, some Sofer says if you miss Shemayna Esra, you can daven together with the Chazan, you can start together with him. It's another thing. That's what it is that a person can do in that case. Okay, but the most important thing that a person has to realize, in fact, Rosh Shlomo Zalman paskend, that it's better to skip parts of Sukkot to Zimra in order to daven Tefillah B'Tzibur, meaning to start Shemoneh Esrei together with the Olam. It's a very, very important thing for a person to remember. That's what it means. Tefillah B'Tzibur. Okay, that's what's going on over here. By the way, Rabbi Aaron Mebels, the Heilige Rabbi Aaron Mebels, once said that if a person davens at home, not only is it an aveira, but it's a chutzpah. He says. What's the chutzpah? He says it's a mashal to daven at home when the olim are davening b'tzibur, right? He says, for example, no, not that it's better to daven, it's better to daven, but of course it's a chutzpah what you did. He says, what's the mashal? He says, imagine a poor person needs a loan, so he asks a rich person. Instead of going to a rich person to get it, he does the opposite. He tells the rich man to come to his house. He says, excuse me, I'm making a chasna in a few weeks and I need to make a wedding, I've got no money. Could you come to my house tonight at 8 o'clock and we'll discuss the thing? He says, you're asking the Shechina to come to you, that's a chutzpah. The Shechina is in the place of Knesset. The Shechina is in the base of Medrash. The Shechina is when there's 10 people and you're davening in your room and you're saying, God, come to me. As I say, Rabbi Rebel, it's a chutzpah over there. The Rambam, Rabbi Say, in Hilchos Tefillah Perek Ches, says Tefillah B'Tzibur Nishmois Tomid is always answered. The Rabbi Shalom says the Rambam is never disgusted by a Tefillah B'Tzibur. That's an incredible thing. That's an unbelievable thing. Says the Heilige Ksav Sofer, the son of the Ksav Sofer, right, in Parshas Eikev. He says when a person davens B'Tzibur, he can never lose, no nezek, no harm will ever befall him because he davens B'Tzibur. You have people that think that, I have a business meeting, so I can't daven minyan B'Tzibur, and what happens, they get there, they miss the minyan, and they realize that the minyan, that the meeting was cancelled or was delayed, and in all that matter, they could have actually done with the minyan. People don't realize the person has to try everything he possibly can to daven Tefillah B'Tzibur. By the way, the Heilige Balatanya in the Graz and Shulchan Aruch Harav and Simon Tzadi brings down that Tefillah B'Tzibur is a chiyuv d'Rabbanan, but it's more than a mitzvah same in our Torah. Right? Isn't that incredible? Says the Shulchan Aruch Harav, the Balatanya, that davening B'Tzibur is more than a mitzvah same in our Torah. A person, says the Shulchan Aruch and Siftes, is chayiv to do everything he possibly can to daven with a minyan. I know a fellow, famous story, this one, right? There was a guy who traveled and he never wanted to miss a minyan. So what did he do? He made sure that when he came back in the airport, he wanted to get a minyan. But one time, the plane was delayed. There wasn't a minyan on the plane. There was no minyan in the airport. So what's he meant to do? So he went to Zechon Moshe. You got to miss Zechon Moshe and Geula Kenai over Sitzergarten. You got all the minyanim over there. It's unbelievable, right? It's beautiful. Problem is, that day there was no minyan. There was nobody there. It was empty. I don't know what happened. Maybe there was early minyanim and nobody came. Everyone was sleeping. What did he do? He called 9 taxi companies. He says that, and he called up, I need 9 taxis, please, in Zechon Moshe. So they said with 9 taxis. They came and said, okay, who am I taking? No, put your meter on. They put the meter on. Rabbi said, I need you for a minyan. Come inside. Right? And he made a minyan. It cost him money. What's enough kamina? I met with a guy. I was sitting with a very choshev yid, right? Trying to get some money for yeshiva. And he's a choshev yid, and he was telling me that mamash, when he travels, he never travels anywhere. And will take a flight where he will miss a minyan. How can you miss a minyan? What do you mean? Done by yourself. What's the big deal? That's not true. If you put into yourself what it means to daven with a minyan, to daven with a tzibur, to daven with other people that are davening, what you can gain from that, the tefillahs that your answer goes straight to kisei hakovod. Everybody wants things. This is your opportunity. It's an unbelievable thing that a person can do. Famous Meiser, right? I know this story has been told in a different situation, but I think I heard this story that somebody was in a baseball match. Baseball match? You call it a baseball match? No, you don't call it a baseball game. Slicha. I've been to these things, okay? A baseball game, right? It was in Shea Stadium. Anyway, I just said that on camera. Anyway, so I would be to Shea Stadium, right? That's what it's called, right? Shea Stadium, right? It's true, no? Yeah. Shea Stadium. No, in America, by the way, it's fine. I know in England, they're going to put me in Chaim just now. But in America, they're okay with going to these things, no?
You're like judgmental.
Okay.
Shout out to Lakewood.
It's fine. I went. I'm not embarrassed. Okay. Anyway, the story did not happen when you know what I did when I went there. I said to the guy, excuse me, when does the game end? I was really English. When does the game end? He's like, we don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know when it's going to end? How do you have a game that doesn't end? Right? Oh, you're so English. Okay. Anyway, the point is, this story did not happen when I was there. But I will tell you what a guy did. He was desperate to dive with the minyan. It was close to Shkia, right? Which Shkia? I don't know. Anyway, he wanted to dive with the minyan. So what happened was he went to the lost and found, and he said to them, I've lost something. Oh, what have you lost? I lost my mincha. Oh, that's terrible. Give us a minute. Mincha, come to lost and found. Mincha, come to lost and found. And Kenai Nahara, he got a minyan over there. It was all the guys with the cap who are not Jewish, right? Because I'm wearing a cap, right? And no one can notice me. That's how it goes. But anyway, that's the point, Rabbi Sai. These things are gavaldik. Absolutely gavaldik. Okay, Rabbi Sai. The end of the story is the person has to realize that no harm can come from you. People think, if I miss the business meeting, I'm not going to make money. Do you really think the Rabbeinu Shalom is going to punish you by not giving you parnasa or the business deal because you went to daven with the minyan? Honestly? You're doing Hashem's will. You're doing Hashem's will, and it reminds us of what? Lav Yitzchak. What does it remind us of, this sugya? Of the stipend, Parashat Miketz. You think the Rabbeinu Shalom is ever going to punish a person because he didn't run with a minyan? You're doing the right thing. The Rabbeinu Shalom loves you. You're going to run with a minyan. People have all these cheshbonos. No, if I'm done with a minyan, what's going to happen is I'm going to lose out on the business deal because I'm not going to get there on time, whatever it is. No, I can't do it. The answer is no. You go down with a minyan, the Rabbeinu Shalom will look after you. Okay? And you find people that are very makbid on minyanim, and these people are very much sliach in their davening as well, by the way. Because they're very makbid. People in davening in their homes, maybe first a couple of times you have kavanah, it's geschmack. But at the end of the day, eventually, it peters out. The koich of the tzibur is something that is ma'orer a person, but even in Shemayim it works that way. The Rabbeinu Shalom accepts that Tefillah B'Tzibur more than anything else. So I think we should give ourselves this gewaldige chizuk. We know that from the Rambam, we know it from Gemara Brachas Daf Ches, we know it from many places of the Maramakomis that I quoted, how important it is. What's that? Also daven with a minyan. Yeah, we found many Maramakomis in Chazal for these things. And a person has to realize, and there's many stories of people, we know stories, I'm sure we know stories of people that missed being in the Twin Towers at Sal on 9/11 because they were davening with a minyan, and the opposite was a Rosh Chodesh, no?
No, it was
slichas or something, and people were like, what do you mean? Got to get to the office, man. Got to get to the office. Got to go. The answer is the Rabban will look after you. Okay, Rabbi say, give ourselves a chizuk, be'ez Hashem, and if we daven with tzibur, we're makbid daven with tzibur, be'ez Hashem, the Rabban will give us a sach siyata d'shmaya and answer all our tefillahs. Have a wonderful day.